It has been a long hot summer here in Japan. I have been balancing some personal things in my life whilst looking after my 2 kids who have been off from school and nursery. Most days have been unbearable to be outside for too long. The humidity, I find, is the problem. These are some snippets from my recent ASMR video appreciating some of nature's sights and sounds found during a Japanese summer. I had a big market in August and made lots of new products to fill a 3x3 metre space. As you may know if you have seen some of my other pottery making videos, I am often inspired by stone and my natural surroundings. I want to try a new technique and I want to practice my brushwork. Here is a large painting called Confluence that I made when I was breastfeeding and thinking about what was happening inside me. The practice of making these meandering lines was extremely therapeutic. As an antidote to the heat, I chose to use cool, calming marble as my inspiration. I could also then practice my brushwork and those meandering lines. I wanted to try a looser approach to this design inspiration as well, by marbling clay. Marble is not something often seen used in architecture in Japan due to restrictions in building code and seismic activity. The closest most people get to marble in their homes is plastic contact paper. So I thought it would be fun to offer some marble tableware. It is not something you often see. I have made videos previously on how I hand mold my pieces. If you are interested, please take a look. This is more of an insight into how inspirations affect my work. To create the hand-painted marble effect with glaze, I chose a matte off-white base. The glaze itself can have varying amounts of subtle green and brown mottled areas, depending on how it is applied. I chose to pour the glaze to get a flat and more or less even coverage. The glaze could then be worked with grey slip to create the mottled background that appears on marble. I tested many variations of how thick or thin the slip was applied, this being a heavier or more experimental application on this table. When applying the background, I worked with one direction of the grain in mind. Then came the fun bit, adding the veins. Once again, I worked with the grain in mind. With a thin brush, I used a thicker form of the grey slip that I applied as the background. I varied the thickness of the lines, and within one line used straight, sure motions mixed with a meandering, slower wobble. I made sure that the lines continued all around the piece, making it look even more like marble. This is how the more heavily applied experimental piece worked out. But I also made more subtle versions in plate, mug and candle form, using the same technique. Here I am working on a marbled clay piece using black and white clay. First I layer the 2 clays, then I wedge them into a ball. I found that working it as little as possible produced a more defined effect. Black appears more predominantly, so depending on the effect you want, you may have to adjust the proportions of clay in the mix. I have already explained this process of making tea bowls before, in a more in-depth video, so I will let some of this footage play, and you won't have to listen to me the whole time. When I make tea bowls, I like to make them easy to use. I have a raku chawan that I love, and it weighs around 350 grams. When making my own, I use this weight as a guide. I carve out the inside to make it lighter, thus controlling the weight. When I was carving, it was fun to see the marbled pattern change with each stroke. I used a clear glaze for the finished pieces, so the clay was left to do all the talking. I still have a lot I want to play around with using these techniques. Let me know what you think of the finished pieces.